There's another shakeup in the tech world. OpenAI's ousted CEO Sam Altman already has a new high-profile job. Microsoft announcing that it was hiring Altman along with OpenAI's president and co-founder. The two will lead an advanced research lab at Microsoft. Meanwhile, more than 500 OpenAI employees have been threatening to quit if the board does not resign. The new interim CEO of OpenAI says he is launching an investigation into Altman's firing. Here now, NewsNation business contributor Lydia Moynihan. Lydia, do we know what led to Altman's departure at OpenAI yet?
There's still not a lot of clarity at all. The board was the one to make this decision on Friday, and they issued a very vague statement saying that he wasn't completely candid with the board about his communication. Now, following that, there was a ton of speculation swirling that it could be anything from he was working on a side business deal and he wasn't transparent with the board about it, or maybe it was something a bit more tawdry. But what's interesting is in the wake of his ouster, the board then tried to bring him back over the weekend. So clearly whatever he did wasn't so terrible that they didn't want to work with him. And then over the weekend, he basically said, well, if you're going to bring me back, you better get rid of the entire board. They obviously were not okay with that. But what's interesting is that he clearly has engendered a lot of support among the employees who work for OpenAI. A number of top executives have followed him out the door. And as you mentioned, more than 550 employees of the 700 employees are saying they will likely quit unless Altman returns. So, I mean, clearly a lot of tumult. And if those employees actually follow through, it doesn't seem like there'll be much of a company left at all.
Right. I mean, a lot of support. It's indicative of what may be happening behind the scenes. I'm curious what the economic impact of these big tech power moves may be.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting here is this has been the leading artificial intelligence company. This is worth about $90 billion just in the last few years. They've been leading Google. They've been leading a lot of other more conventional big players in this space. And one of the things about OpenAI that is a bit more unique, it was also founded by Elon Musk, a number of other people in tech. It was intended to be a not-for-profit, and it was intended to sort of have a moral compass, which is obviously a very good thing. And a lot of people feel like that may have been what the tension was between Altman and the board, that maybe he was pursuing something just in a way to make as much money as he could, whereas the board was saying, hey, we need to make sure we have ethical controls. At this point, it's just a lot of speculation. But it's interesting because if that is the case, that's kind of a bit terrifying to think that sort of the people in the arena who are trying to rein in what AI may be doing aren't going to really be there anymore. And so, of course, Microsoft owns 49% of OpenAI. They have been investing billions, had committed to invest $13 billion. And now it looks like if Altman's hiring is any indication, they also hired the president there of OpenAI, that they could be swooping up a lot of talent. And you could essentially see kind of shifting operations from OpenAI to Microsoft. And you would see a lot of the work that they were doing at OpenAI just continuing in a different company in a slightly different way, but likely creating a similar product to what OpenAI was trying to create, and which they have created. ChatGPT is wildly popular and successful at this point.
Right. The ripple effects of this could be major. Elon Musk, as we mentioned a moment ago, threatening this thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters. What exactly is he alleging?
Well, and we did reach out to X and trying to get more clarity on just what exactly the suit would do or what grounds it would have. The spokesperson didn't provide any clarity other than to say that basically it was a fraudulent report. I will note that most filings you can make anytime, 24/7. So if this really was a priority, he could have filed something over the weekend. It doesn't appear, there's no reports or any indication that he has filed something. He said he was going to do that by Monday morning. But I think, Elon Musk is much more concerned about the court of public opinion. And so what he is saying is that it was basically a so-called forced scenario. And what he's alleging is basically Media Matters tried to create this and jerry-rig this system where they were going to see a lot of inflammatory content. And what Elon Musk says is that the day that they put that report together, there were 5.5 billion ads shown, and that it was only 50 ads that had the inflammatory pro-Nazi, pro-white supremacy ads that basically Media Matters cites. The spokesperson reiterated that Media Matters was the only one to see those offensive ads. So still a lot of questions, but clearly in the wake of that report, you see, IBM, Apple, a lot of folks who are pulling their ads.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.